start things back up like she had never left. Miles had known his dad didn't really like that she had returned, but he had tried to hide it for Miles' sake. Bishop had wanted his son to have his mother, and Miles had liked having her around again. It had made him feel better knowing that his mother actually wanted him again. Unfortunately, she just couldn't get her act together. She was a woman that loved to party and hooked up with different men inside and outside of the club. She always seemed to be looking for something better. Eventually, one night of partying had gotten out of control, and she'd ended up dead. Miles still didn't know all the details, but he knew his dad was angry at himself for letting her come back. It wasn't a mistake he could let himself forget. Bishop was the only real family that Miles had left, and the conversation he'd just overheard in the garage worried him. Was his dad's life in danger? Would Goliath protect him? Thinking of Goliath eased Miles' mind a little. He knew that Goliath was a big dude, and no one messed with him unless they wanted to get a fist in the face.
Chapter 1. Tessa. You know, idioms are just phrases that people use to add humor to conversations. They aren't meant to be taken literally. Actually, you use them all the time. I heard some of you talking about checking each other. When you say, Lori was checking me, it doesn't mean she's actually putting a check mark on your forehead. The students snickered at her comment, and when they settled down, she continued. You all know it means that she was saying bad things about someone. Tessa had been a 5th-grade teacher at Henry County Elementary for almost 2 years. She loved teaching, and she'd always felt that she learned more from her students than they ever learned from her. She had moved to Paris, Tennessee with her 2 children, Isabel and Drake, shortly after her divorce. She'd needed a change of scenery for her family, and the move had been a good choice for them. She had often visited Paris Landing as a child, and had always loved being at the lake. She had been excited to come back, and she'd needed the distance from her overbearing ex-husband. Her marriage had not been a happy one, and she'd wanted a new start for her kids. The schools in Paris were some of the best in the area, and she'd been glad to get a teaching position there. Daniel suggested, Like skating on thin ice doesn't mean that you're really skating on ice. It means you're about to get in so much trouble. That's right, Daniel. Does anyone else have an idiom to share? Tessa asked. How about hot, hot like a tater tot? That doesn't mean you feel hot. It means you are hot. Good looking, smoking, you know, hot. Lindsay shouted from the back of the classroom. The room filled with laughter, and Tessa couldn't help but join in. She cleared her throat, drawing the attention of the class back to her, and said, Yes, that could work. Actually, that one is pretty good, Lindsay. Anyone else? Mom told my dad to break a leg last week when he had to go to a big meeting at work. I don't think she meant it, though, Luke added. But they were fighting just before then, so you never know. I'm sure she meant it as good luck. That's an old one. Not really sure how someone came up with that, Tessa chuckled. Bradley, a known troublemaker in the class, turned to face Miles and said viciously, I'd like to knock you into next week. That would work, wouldn't it, Ms. Campbell? He smirked at Miles. Miles immediately jumped out of his seat with his fist raised and began punching Bradley in the face, shoulder, and back. Bradley tried to shield himself by tucking his head in towards his desk as Miles shouted, How about I high-five your face? He kept hitting Bradley while Tessa scrambled to the back of the classroom. Miles Bishop, stop that right now! What are you thinking? Tessa screeched. Miles popped Bradley one more time on the side of his face, causing Tessa to completely lose her temper. Miles!